So 40 years ago on a snow-covered Wednesday in our nation's capital, a plane that only seconds before had taken off from Washington National Airport plummeted down, slamming into the 14th Street Bridge and then plunged into the Potomac River.
Yeah, dozens of people on board lost their lives that day, but it was also one of those days in American history that serves as a reminder that there are everyday heroes among us. Lex Juarez is live with us now from the site where it all happened 4 decades ago. Lex, tell us more about that day. I'm sure a lot of viewers remember and certain viewers don't remember at all.
Yeah, this, like you said, is exactly where it happened. The 14th Street Bridge right here over my shoulder. That's where the plane hit and then landed in the Potomac right behind me. As you mentioned, Tasmeen, there was a snowstorm going on in the district that day. The river was actually completely frozen over, and you mentioned that dozens of people lost their lives. There was actually 78 people who died from a result of that crash that day. But like you said, this story does not go without heroism. 40 years ago, a deadly day in Washington that is now remembered in images like this. 78 dead after Air Florida Flight 90 crashed into the 14th Street Bridge shortly after takeoff.
It was a de-icing issue. The pilot had de-iced the plane, and then the plane got into line for takeoff with a lot of other planes. And as a result, it sat there for a very long time. The de-icing became ineffective.
While most of the people in the plane died, some of the deaths were people on the bridge.
I mean, I saw cars that were flattened as if they had gone to the junkyard and been crushed. And there were occupants inside those cars.
A deadly scene that many say they will never forget. But the response and heroism is also a big part of the story. People like Lenny Skutnik, who jumped in to save one of the passengers, are always thought of. WDVM's Ross Simpson got a chance to catch up with him.
He said, "I knew she would drown if I didn't save her, so I jumped in the water." I said, "That river was ice cold. Did you feel it?" He said, "I didn't feel a thing."
The water cold enough that day to give instant hypothermia.
In the images you'll see, the ice is broken up. It's broken up because of the impact. The river was pretty well frozen.
Mix those conditions with low visibility and difficult access, and the recovery efforts dragged on.
It took a number of days, maybe even more than a week, to locate all those victims.
In total, there was 5 people who survived that crash. The last victim to be recovered from the water was a 2-month-old baby boy, and that was over a week after it happened. Now, here we are 40 years later. There have been significant upgrades to technology and protocols, and of course, the percentage of plane crashes is much, much lower.